You can't put a price on love. Hope Series, Part 3, the smiling man with red hair offered me love for $1, but I didn't have any money. From the stained, weathered look of the old wood table, I got the sense that the man had already sold a few bottles, but love was still there. "I'm sorry," I said, patting my dress for quarters, "but I don't have any." He winked at me. "No charge for a young one like you. Give it to whoever you wish. It will make them love you." His smile got wider as I picked up the bottle and felt butterflies in my tummy, like when Sarah from school would walk by, I could smell her perfume. She always looked so pretty. "Maybe Daddy would like it?" I found myself saying as I examined the bottle with a beautiful pink color. "Can I give it to Daddy?" I asked, suddenly excited. Daddy said not to talk to strangers, but this man seemed nice, and he was giving me something for free. I couldn't hide my happiness as I looked at the man. The man's expression seemed sad suddenly. "Please, be careful." The man's eyes widened, and his smile looked more like a terrified grimace as his body started to shake. He looked up, his neck contorting painfully. "The whole thing. Use the whole thing. It's very important that you use the whole thing if you want to be truly happy. Happy, happy, happy. Always happy." When he looked back at me, his smile had returned. I shakily backed away from him, afraid, and turned around to run, only to smack right into my dad. "Jane, stop playing with your stupid fucking imaginary friends and get inside and make dinner," he grumbled. "Dad." I whirled around and clung to his waist. "I'm scared, this man is." He slapped me across the face for the third time that day, except this time it actually knocked me to the ground. I said, "Make me dinner." I couldn't help it. I knew I had to be a good daughter, but I started crying, silently, of course, so that he wouldn't see. I heard his footsteps go back towards the house. I managed to open my eyes and look at the corner of the yard where I had seen the man who gave me the bottle, but he wasn't there. How could he possibly get rid of the table that fast? How did Dad not see him? "Dad hates it when people come over, he says that they'll take me away." Was he really imaginary? But then how did I get a bottle? Wait, the bottle. Where was it? Oh. There it is. I sniffle as I reach for it from the ground and examine how pretty and pink it is before brushing the dirt off my dress and heading inside. The man was nowhere to be seen, and I had to start dinner. I didn't know what to make, but I just knew I had to put love in it. I put love into all my dishes, of course, but now I have this magical ingredient thingy. Deep down, I was sure that this whole thing was just pretend. Some remnant from my childhood. I'm 15, but I pretty much act like a child. Nobody at school wants to hang out with me because of how childish I can be. So, I figured the man was just some imaginary delusion, and this bottle was part of my imagination. When your dad treats you the way he does, you learn to stop questioning things. But it sure felt a lot more real than my usual imaginings, wasn't it? I shrugged and put a few drops of love into the spaghetti. "Janie, did you really make this?" I froze. I bit my lower lip. He never called me that anymore. Why is he being all? "Thank you," he said happily. Happily? No way. I winced when he got up, expecting to be hit, but he just walked over to me and pet my head. Affectionately. "This was great. Please make more next time, okay?" He walked away, humming to himself as he cleaned his own dish. I just stood there and stared at him, half expecting him to come back out and yell at me or something. I ran up to my room. And oddly, he didn't tell me to stop. As I rolled the bottle in my hand as I lay on the only furniture in my room, a threadbare mattress, I couldn't stop thinking that I finally did something right. All it took was a little love. I didn't want to admit it at first, but the love worked. I wrote a diary entry about 2 days after I gave him the love. He cleaned up the beer bottles by his chair. I got a bed. A bed. Not a mattress on the floor, a bed. But more than that. He gave me toys. You guys, I've been wanting a diary for so long, just so I can write in it, but he had always said it was too dangerous. But he went out and got me one. Can you believe it? I can't believe the love actually worked. I'm slowly starting to believe it's not a prank or something. I was clearly so excited. I can't read those pages anymore. I don't even like to think about any of this, so I'm not sure why I'm documenting it here. Anyway, I took it as a sign from God, who I used to not believe in because my dad kept saying he can't save me. But clearly he did save me. I wrote in my diary. Every night I prayed that this would keep working. I know the man said to use the whole bottle, but apparently the 3 drops I put in that night worked. This stuff must be powerful. Janie, I wanted to tell you something, he said as he sat me down. What is it? I asked nervously. I was still getting used to speaking without being hurt. It had been a week since I put those 3 drops in, and though things had changed drastically, old habits die hard. I'm sorry for how I treated you before. I don't know how I could be so cruel to you. Do you forgive me? I found myself unsure of what to say. If I said no, would he hurt me? I understand if you need a little time. I'll give you some. Why not go play in the backyard? He asked, as he walked to the living room. Time? My dad was giving me time to think? And play? He wasn't demanding it. I looked around the now clean house and smiled. Things were really starting to look up. So, I walked into the backyard. I didn't really want to, but he suggested it, and I didn't want to disobey him lest he suddenly get angry. As I was playing with my new ball and laughing to myself, I heard a laugh that sounded familiar. He. I turned around. The laugh was somehow emotionless. It was disturbing, though I wasn't thinking about that at the time. Of course, it was him. How is the love working out? I ran up to him. Oddly enough, he looked exactly the same as a week ago, red hair, creepy smile. It worked, I exclaimed, putting my hands on the old table. But why did you tell me to give him the whole thing? I only gave him 3 drops and it's working great. The man seemed to stare off into the distance. Hey, are you listening? I said, you told me to. Are you happy yet? He asked in a slow voice, almost as if he weren't talking to me, but to himself. Huh? I. Wouldn't you rather have everything you've ever wanted? His eyes turned to me. I don't understand how they held such sorrow even though his smile was as bright as ever. If he weren't smiling so brightly, I would assume he was about to cry. What? I asked. He blinked, and his eyes returned to normal, curious and intense, without even a hint of sadness. I said, does he love you enough yet? Yes, he does. It's just perfect. I just wanted to say thank you, I suppose. The man just kept smiling. And now that I'm done, I guess I don't need it anymore. The man gave me a look that I couldn't place, but he didn't say anything. So, can I give the bottle back? The man blinked. Give it back? He asked, and I nodded. I'll be right back to get it. I promise I'll give it right back. Don't disappear like last time, okay? The man straightened, and his smile grew. He nodded and chuckled, much deeper and happier than before. I have to admit, it was the creepiest thing I had ever heard. Regardless, I felt like I was repaying the man by giving it back, since he clearly didn't expect it, and he seemed happy about it. Well, he kinda always seemed happy, except for those eyes he had earlier. And honestly, I don't think happy is the right word for the way he's looking at me. Maybe he'll be even happier with a little love in his life. I know now that giving it back is the right thing to do. You have promised to bring the love back, he said in a dreamy tone. I do not have much time here. Please hurry, hee. He whispered, the sound of his creepy little he's following me all the way to the house. Dad wasn't in the living room. When I went into the kitchen, I nearly crashed into him again as he was coming out. The table was completely full of bottles of every shape and size. The broken glass on the ground was gone. Then I noticed it. The table looked pristine, brand new, with no signs of wear and tear. My dad was smiling a plastic, too wide smile. Hello there, he chuckled, tilting his head at me. Little girl, would you like to buy some grief?